What's up everyone, and welcome to some more Warframe. Those of you that have been paying attention to my Twitter recently will have seen the tweet I put out about checking out my Google Drive, coming across some really old school Warframe footage. So I decided today was going to be the day that I did a Let's Max on the weapon featured in that footage, and that is the truly old school Latron Prime. Now, one of the strongest primaries in the game back in the day, the Latron Prime is currently not available outside of Vaulted Relics and Trade Chat right now, and it makes it reasonably difficult to get hold of, even if it's not that expensive to buy for plat from the Trade Chat. It rocks a really nice base damage of 90. The vast majority of that is puncture, remaining is split evenly between impact and slash. It is one of the highest base damages of all the rifles, only behind the Grinlock and the Zenith. But that pure damage isn't much good without some decent supporting stats, and the Latron Prime is no stranger to that. The 22% crit chance it has makes a crit build really work rather well, especially since with just the point strike it comes to like over 50% crit, but especially with its huge critical damage multiplier of 280%. And it really gives it a massive 620% when you put only Vital Sense in there. It is massive. Add that into headshot multipliers because the weapon is really accurate, and the damage gets fairly nutty rather quickly. Add into that a really damn nice 26% status chance too. You've now got a weapon that can crit reliably and hit like a truck when it does, and will also proc status reliably while shooting too. So really nice combination, especially when you're running corrosive against armored enemies. Each shot ends up with you doing more damage than the last. It's not without its downsides though, which do limit the usability of the Latron Prime quite a bit. The most noticeable one for the footage is the enhanced zoom that it's got. It's got maybe 50% more zoom than an average weapon from what I can tell, which, like the Seer, it really hurts it in close quarters and can lead it to being kind of disorienting when you're trying to hit a close target. Obviously it works better in open areas like some of the Corpus tiles or the Plains of Eidolon, but on your average map it's definitely a downside. It's also got a fair amount of recoil, so trying to spam this thing does lead you to missing a fair few shots if you aren't good at recoil control. You can control that a little bit through modding, but if you don't want to lose a mod slot, then you're going to have to learn the recoil and compensate for it. So, modding the Latron Prime, what do we actually do? Comes with a V and a dash as standard, but we're going to add another 3 Vs. Now, I know I have an extra dash on here, but that's actually not needed at all. It's a relic of the old war, but it's just really not needed on here at all, so don't worry about that. You only need 3 Vs, so it's only 3 former, which is pretty cheap. In terms of modding, we're going to start off by putting in the Serration for raw damage. Then we're going to go with Split Chamber, which is down here, for the multi-shot. Then we're going to go with either Shred or Prime Shred, depending on what you've got available. Obviously, I've got Prime Shred, so I'm going to put it in there. But if you don't have the primed, going normal Shred works really nicely as well. Then, because we've got a 22% critical chance, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to build it for crit. So Point Strike up there, and Vital Sense down here. Point Strike for crit chance, Vital Sense for crit damage. And then we're going to go with either Corrosive for your armored enemies or Gas against the Corpus. So we're going to go Malignant Force, and I'm going to put High Voltage in the wrong slot here. Then this last slot is something that you sort of make up your mind what you want to do with, to be honest. You could go with Hunter Munitions. I can't fit it in there because of the polarity right now, but so if you don't put the polarity there, you could go, Hunter Munitions. Or you could go with Vigilante Armaments, which is all the way down here. This is my usual one I usually go with, because I like the extra multi-shot quite a bit, as you can see. It puts all of our stats up quite a bit. We get more status chance. Obviously, we get more of everything, basically. So it's really useful. Or what I would say is something else to sort of negate one of the downsides of the weapon, and that is getting rid of some of that reload. And that's why it's a dash. It basically means I can put primed fast hands in there. Brings our reload from 2.4 down to 1.5. Knocks almost an entire second off of the reload. Makes things feel much nicer, especially at a lower level. So just sort of like if I'm doing high level stuff, sorty stuff, I would go with Vigilante Armaments for the extra multi-shot. Or if I'm doing lower level stuff, I really want to be killing a bit faster, so I will use the Prime Fast Hands just to get that reload speed going. Since it's only got, what, 15 shots in the magazine? Sounds decent because it's a single fire weapon, but actually that goes pretty quickly because it's got a fairly decent fire rate. So you could actually empty that magazine pretty quickly. So reloads are something that you want to cut down on, especially if you're a habitual reloader like me. I tend to reload after like 3 or 4 shots or something. So yeah, it's one of those things. Recoil's not too bad on this. It's not great though, so you can put stabilizer in there if you really wanted to. But honestly, I would say it's pretty much between Prime Fast Hands or Vigilante Armaments as what to do on that final slot. So what do I think of the Latron Prime? Is it still a good weapon and worth getting your hands on? Yeah, no, I think is the answer from me. The performance of the weapon's decent. It can deal with sortie levels reasonably easy. 22 seconds roughly to take down 4 level 100 heavy gunners it's alright. It's not amazing, but it's, I mean, I guess alright is probably the right word for that. It's going to be able to deal with, honestly, the vast majority of the content in the game that you throw it into, and deal with it actually fairly alright. That's pretty much the word I would use to describe the Latron Prime is alright. Problem for me, though, is usability. The zoom personally puts me straight off it. Unlike the Velt, which can toggle its zoom, the level is constant with the Latron Prime, and short of getting a minus zoom ribbon, there is nothing you can do about that. This really hurts its performance in close quarters map, which, let's be honest, is probably just about 90% of Warframe tile sets, with the exceptions of the ones like I say, the planes, or the one you can actually see in the old school footage here. But for the vast majority of the game, the zoom level has become sort of disorienting and cumbersome, and actually hurts the performance of the weapon. However, get a good ribbon for the Latron Prime, and it can turn into an actual beast of a weapon. Look for crit chance and crit damage, and you can make the weapon do rather silly things. It's only got a 3 out of 5 disposition, however the numbers it can get, it's totally worth getting a ribbon for. My ribbon honestly is pretty terrible, but if you can get crit ones, maybe damage, multi-shot, and the one I would look for personally is minus zoom, then the Latron Prime becomes really rather nutty. It's amazing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Latron Prime is bad and is only good with a ribbon, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. As much as I want to go and I want to say I love it, because let's be honest, it looks and sounds pretty awesome, it is going to do what you need it to, be it normal missions or even the sortie, and you can make it insanely good through ribbons. It's just so awkward, and it's that awkwardness in tight spaces that really sadly puts me off the weapon quite badly. You might enjoy it, but it's just not for me. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Latron Prime and enjoyed the old school footage in the background. Look at the old, it's really old now, isn't it? Like you can see, like all the, I miss the effects of when you pick up mods and stuff like that. The old school affinity numbers. You can see me trying to copter around using the dual icons as well. It's actually, I'm so happy that I managed to find this footage. And as soon as I saw this footage, I wanted to do a Let's Max on the Latron Prime, and I wanted to bring you this footage just to show you what, old school Warframe used to be like. Because I think this footage is about 3 years old, I want to say. So it does go back quite a bit. I mean, I'm using only standard nicks here. Like, it really is going back quite a way. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be able to show you this footage. I'm glad that I found it randomly on my Google Drive, but it's just it is what it is, and yeah, it's quite it's a walk down memory lane to see Warframe like this. To be honest, I do. It's one of those things that you sort of look at it with rose-tinted glasses and you kind of miss it. Like, despite things being honestly better now in terms of like the HUD and like everything that's going on screen, but you kind of like yearn for the old days, I think, because of those rose tinted glasses. However, the new Prime should be releasing, I think, today, so I'm going to be doing a live stream with that. I'm going to be giving away a ribbon for the new Prime Melee, as well as a whole bunch of plat. I've got plat for all 3 of the platforms, so that should be good. I hope I'm going to see you all there, and I shall catch you in the next video.